Добрый день, дамы и господа. У микрофона Леон Вайнстайн, город Лос-Анджелес, Калифорния. Имя Стива Баннона, главного стратега первой победы Трампа в 2016 году, известно всей Америке. А он идеолог и как бы архитектор, и в том числе и подготовки Трампа ко второму сроку. Сам является мощным локомотивом, но остается вне политических подмосток. Похоже, он не умеет или не любит ходить в строю, даже когда ряды двигаются по его задумке и сценарию. Интервью, о котором я вам сейчас расскажу, дано в начале февраля британскому журналисту Стивену Эддингтону и отличается крайним профессионализмом обоих участников. Это одно из лучших интервью, которые я видел. Мне однажды самому удалось взять интересное интервью, которым я был очень доволен и даже горд. Я интервьюировал Владимира Быковского. Он полностью без изменений, без искажений вставил наше интервью в свою последнюю книгу. Но до того, что делали эти двое, мне все-таки далеко.
My name is Stephen Edgington, and joining me to discuss the first few weeks of the second Trump administration is Stephen K. Bannon.
Вот участники этого экстраординарного по знанию предмета разговора о первых шагах Трампа и его команды, первых шагах, которые на самом деле выстроил этот самый Стив Баннон.
Are we witnessing a campaign of revenge?
A campaign of revenge by the president? I think anything but. Remember, his revenge is going to be the new golden age. I think what you're seeing is a very focused deconstruction of the administrative state and take down the deep state. We call it days of thunder here. And folks should understand that President Trump's political comeback started the day he got back to Mar-a-Lago with the war room and the war room posse and this kind of grassroots effort that turned into the precinct strategy and had his back the whole time. That's the political side, which most people think is everything. But the other side was these public intellectuals, America First Party Institute under Brooks Rollins and Stephen Miller, America First Law under Miller, Center for Renewing America under Russ Vought, the infamous Project 2025. But that was to look at verticals of everything we wanted to accomplish, drill deep into policy, and to start to put together teams. Remember, we can hit the deck plates running with 4,000, there's 4,000 people to control a government.
Стив сказал, возвращение Трампа не началось в 24-м, даже не в 23-м году. Оно началось в день, когда Трамп вернулся из Белого дома домой в Мар-а-Лаго. Он собрал своих помощников и сказал, это наш командный пункт. Отсюда мы начинаем готовить следующий президентский срок. И в отличие от первой предвыборной кампании, они стали собирать думающих людей, обсуждать решения проблем, действия, изменения в работе правительства с тем, чтобы вытащить страну из того кошмара, в который у них и у нас на глазах, дамы и господа, ее засовывали демократы.
So it's not revenge, it's really setting things right. The American people kind of demanded this, they voted for it, and they're getting it.
What I find incredible is the lack of opposition in the last 2 weeks. What happened to the resistance?
I think you see, I want to make it the analogy kind of the Tory party to the Reform Party. In the established order, they get so lazy because they control the levers of power. They control the financial community, or the financial community. So it's the financial community, the tech community, the corporatist, the universities, pop culture, high culture, media, and they get lazy. I am not shocked. I am surprised at how quickly the ideas are evaporating. What I mean by that, when you say no resistance, let's break it down in pieces. Number one, in the confirmation hearings, and we just had Tulsi and Bobby Kennedy approved, which they said was never going to happen. After we got Pete Hegseth approved, they said it was never going to happen. If you go back and your audience looks at the confirmation hearings, Marco Rubio is laying out the end of the post-war international rules-based order. Pete Hegseth is talking about a revolution in military affairs. Russ Vought And really, Scott Besson talking about a new economic model for the United States based on external revenue. Look at this thing, what we call the golden door, or the golden market. Huge ideas put out on this Trump revolution, what he calls a revolution of common sense. There's no pushback.
И правда интересно, мы видим судей, которые пытаются остановить Трампа, но у них ничего не получается. Мы видим сенаторов, которые пытаются облить грязью кандидатов на высокие должности, но ничего не получается. Мы видим, как одно за другим антитрамповские радио, телекомпании разоряются и увольняют дикторов, которые только что злопыхали на Трампа, безостановочно лгали, как и наши с вами соотечественники делают. Кстати, вот помните Black Lives Matter и Антифа, в первый срок, что они устраивали? Их ведь тоже не видно. Вопрос, почему?
The resistance in the streets, a lot of this, remember, it's how it's financed. This is why USAID is so important. So we're choking down and cutting off the oxygen because this hasn't really been financed by a lot of private groups. That money's all been slush fund through the government. So when you talk about resistance at every level, they've been shattered. They've been shattered from their financing sources. The media is kind of is just almost like a puppy now.
Команда Трампа предусмотрела и это. И решение было отрезать боевые отряды демократов от финансирования. И поэтому Маск пошел с самого начала туда, где левые держали деньги на оплату бунтов, демонстраций, блогеров, журналистов. Они пошли в USAID.
My theory, the case of flood the zone and give them all pedal, no brake. It's just attack, 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 keep driving it, flood the zone, overwhelm them. It gets to be a psychological thing. They don't even know what to choose and picking. You see it by the coverage. They're overwhelmed. They don't know where to turn. They don't have the normal levers of power they could grab. And so they're kind of adrift.
Вы поняли? Стратегия Баннона, которой следует Трамп, все время жать на газ, не давать оппозиции передышки, атаковать без остановки, без устали, постоянно. И у них не будет времени реагировать, потому что происходит множество неожиданных для них вещей. Они не успевают реагировать на одно, а уже еще 2, 4, 6, 8, 12 выскакивают. И демократы в полной растерянности и не имея рычагов насилия, к которым они уже привыкли. Просто не понимают, что им делать. Раньше-то у них в руках было и ФБР, и ЦРУ, и прокуроры, и все остальное. А сейчас важный вопрос. Кого надо расследовать и судить? То, что скажет Баннон, это то, что он вписал в книгу действий для команды Трампа. Все эти ребята, я имею в виду Тулси Габбард, Пам Банди, Каш Пател, это талантливая молодежь в классе гроссмейстера Стива Баннона. Итак, кого мы будем судить?
Who do you think should be on the top target list of the Trump DOJ?
Well, first, I think we have to go back. I'm a huge advocate that radical transparency and declassification is our best friend. I think just in the Trump era, we have to go back to the beginning. And I'm a very strong advocate that DOJ can handle this because they got so much going on. To really make sure that we never go through another period of weaponization, I think a special prosecutor overall has to do it. And the special prosecutor then goes back to even before Trump was president. You go back to Crossfire Hurricane.
То есть будет назначен специальный прокурор или несколько прокуроров, и они начнут заниматься кем и чем.
You go back to Cambridge. You go back to MI6 involvement. You go back to the Five Eyes involvement in all this. You're going to have to go in some places that people don't want to go, but it has to happen. We have to find out about the intelligence community overall. You have to go back to the Russia hoax, all of that. You have to go back to then the stolen election. You have to go back to J6 to get to the bottom of that. And then the vast criminal conspiracy against President Trump to indict him 92 times on charges that just on the Jack Smith stuff alone would be 300 years in a federal prison because they wanted him to die in federal prison. The reason they were so over the top, your audience should miss the point, they never thought we would be back. They thought we were finished. We can put Bannon in prison, Navarro in prison, we can prison Trump. They're finished.
Люди Трампа займутся расследованием обмана о связи Трампа с Россией. Это Хиллари и, может быть, и Барак. О деле 6 января это уже генпрокурор США Мэри Гарланд и Джо Байден. Это комиссия по якобы захвату власти, это Лиз Чейни. Это побег из Афганистана, это генерал Милли. Это прокуроры, судьи, которые подделали обвинения против Трампа.
In addition to all that happening, I think further investigations have to go on the pandemic. Further investigations have to go of how we had this, of the invasion of our country, very organized, who paid for it, who did it.
Пандемия, это Фаучи. Опять Байден, кстати. 12 миллионов нелегалов, это Майоркас, это губернаторы Иллинойса, Нью-Йорка, Калифорния, это Камала, в конце концов. Но Байден, скажете вы, отмазал многих, он дал им пардон.
It has to happen or we're not going to have a country. Just us winning and changing fundamentally things, the administrative state you have to go, the cancer is in the body, it's metastasizing. Now we're here stopping it on the administrative state, on the deep state, but you got to go back to the source of the disease and really not just cut it out, but actually understand it, study it of how it happened and who's responsible. And I think there's going to be a lot of people that go to prison. I mean, I think a lot of people are going to go to prison for many, many years.
Just before Biden left office, he issued a series of pardons to his allies, preemptive pardons and so on. Do you think that those should still apply? Is there any way of getting around those pardons?
It's a quite fascinating topic. I believe Biden waited too long because he's trying to be cute and don't want to too wit. People were walking into the Capitol for the inauguration, and at noon is when you traditionally take the oath around noon. So officially the term ends at noon on the 20th. People were walking in at close to 11 o'clock and they're announcing pardons. This is how ashamed they were of the pardons for the family, etc. I find it ironic since I went to a federal prison and I didn't go to a camp. I went to a prison. I went to a cell block and a cell.
Объясняю. За отказ быть свидетелем в деле, которое шили Трампу, Стив Баннон сел в тюрьму. И сидел не под домашним арестом, как бывает, с высокопоставленными лицами, а провел свое время в тюрьме. И это после того, как был политическим советником президента.
Those people, Liz Cheney and Benny Thompson, the people that went after Trump and gave criminal referrals on Trump that Jack Smith then lined up for 300 years in prison, crimes for 300 years in prison on Trump, and sent Peter Navarro to prison and sent 1,000 J6 people to prison. These people then went begging for a pardon for what they had done. I'm going, whoa, what they done can't stand up underneath scrutiny. So number one, I think technically, and I've been a big advocate of this, that the Justice Department should not effectuate any of those, or we've got to go another route because we are going to hold these people accountable. This is going to be a massive part of the investigation of the vast criminal conspiracy.
Теперь мы знаем, что планируется массивное расследование всего, что происходило со времен Обамы.
What helps us every time there's more facts that come out, because now look what's happening. Ratcliffe gets to the CIA, and in 2 days, first day, well, guess what? The CIA actually did agree. He released the CIA did agree that the virus came from the Wuhan lab. What did War Room say on, I don't remember, January 20th of 2020? We came out with that first, and we were taken off all platforms. We were deplatformed because this is conspiracy theory. Now we know the CIA had information. The next day, Ratcliffe leaked out that, hey, the Chinese Communist Party, since the PLA controlled the lab, maybe either inadvertently leaked on their watch or they might have even released it on purpose. So my point is, I want to declassify 5 million documents right now. I want to have radical transparency in all of these court hearings, including we're a huge believer that General Milley must be recalled to active duty. He must go before a military tribunal under the laws of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, which is different than civilian law here. General Milley has to be tried for treason because I believe he's guilty of treason, but that has to be done in a fair and equitable way, but I think that has to be done now.
То есть все-таки позовут обратно генерала Милле, я бы сказал, даже призовут, Вот, обратно на службу и предъявит ему обвинение в госизмене. Мы узнали, что он сообщал китайцам о наших планах и пообещал, что если Трамп прикажет ударить по Китаю, он предупредит Китай заранее. Кстати, это то же самое, за что казнили Розенбергов, передавших рецепт производства атомного оружия Иосифу Виссарионовичу Сталину.
They also say that President Trump is abusing his executive power and he should be going through Congress for doing all sorts of things that he's doing using executive orders and so on. So are we seeing Trump the dictator? Is this an abuse of power?
President Trump is owning these decisions. I mean, he's larger than life right now because the Democrats are in such disarray, and he keeps driving decisions every day. There's executive orders on the economy, on tariffs, on immigration, on deportations, on virtually every vertical we have that thinks has to be turned around. You're seeing populist, nationalist policies come in with people. What's fundamentally so important, I hope your audience doesn't miss the point, is you're seeing a geoeconomic and geostrategic not reimagining, a kind of a massive pivot in the United States. When we say the end of the post-war rules-based order, that means we don't want to be an empire anymore. President Trump is doing pretty obviously a hemispheric defense.
Если не ясно, то сейчас Стив Баннон сказал очень важные слова. После Второй мировой началась переделка мира, и были организованы практически две империи. Но с приходом Трампа Америка отказывается от идеи или желания стать империей.
Whether that is sending Marco Rubio on his first trip, he didn't go to London, he didn't go to Brussels, he didn't go to Asia, he went to the Panama Canal to tell these guys, hey, we need you to step out here and say, one belt, one road's over, essentially kicking the Chinese out, we're taking our canal back. The canal all the way to Greenland is the Mahanian strategy that the old British Empire had of, here it's going to be hemispheric defense. We're going to make sure the Chinese and Russian Navy can't connect in the Caribbean. We're going to make sure in some sort of partnership.
Я очень не хочу, чтобы вы это пропустили. Вместо империи мы строим защиту от любого будущего нападения, от Панамского канала до Гренландии.
With an independent Greenland, that we're going to have I think a base there, a big nuclear submarine base, so we don't have to depend upon Cregan in Scotland. And that is going to guarantee that we control the Greenland, Iceland, UK gap. And so Soviet submarines, fast attack and boomer, just can't come down from Murmansk or Archangel and come down and just get off the waters of the United States. We're also going to make sure in that we're positioned for the new great game of the 21st century. Britain and Russia fought the great game for 100 years in Afghanistan and Persia about war mortar port for the Russian Empire and for the defense of India, British India. The Arctic's the new great game, and it's a great power struggle. You've got the Chinese Communist Party's already up there, the KGB and the Russians already up there, the United States is going to be up there, and I think with Canada as a partner, but based off of Greenland. So you're seeing a Monroe Doctrine to look at our hemispheric defense. He's even talking about putting in some sort of iron dome that might secure it. Now, the technology of that and the cost of it still be determined. But if you look at that, coupled with trade and how he's looking at our market as a premium market, he's sending a very strong signal that the years of us spending hundreds of billions of dollars around the rim of the Eurasian landmass may be over. We will pick and choose those things we get involved with, right? And I think that's a very strong signal.
Дни, когда мы всех за свой счет защищали, прошли или очень скоро пройдут. Европа, Азия должны думать о партнерстве с нами, а не о том, чтобы мы за свой счет их защищали. Чтобы они чувствовали себя в безопасности, потому что есть Соединенные Штаты Америки, которые взяли на себя всю защиту всего свободного мира. Я очень надеюсь, что наши партнеры в НАТО слушают Стива, который на самом деле говорит вещи, которые сам Трамп озвучить не может. А Стив Баннон, он никто, он частное лицо. Может.
I think he's telling NATO and the countries of the continent and the United Kingdom, The Russian army is kind of your problem. You know, we're a naval power and the Russian Navy is our problem, and we're going to bottle it up in the Arctic. Or if it's not bottled up, we'll track it, you know, submarine to submarine. So we feel confident we got it. Russian army in that part of the Eurasian landmass in you know, near Kursk and Stalingrad is, we would strongly recommend it's not an English problem, but, you know, Boris Johnson, you guys have at it, but it's not an American problem. It's not in the vital national, those issues are not in the vital national security interests of the United States. I think it's a very strong signal, and I hope people in the powers that be in London.
Вот я так под таким углом, под этим углом не думал. Российские ракеты и флот – это наша проблема, а армия на европейском континенте – это ваша, европейцы, проблема. В России 100-140 миллионов человек, в Объединенной Европе 350 миллионов. Почему вы не можете остановить Россию сами? Потому что вы решили, что американский дядя вам обязан? Так вот, не обязан. Либо вы строите защиту сами, либо вас захватывает снаружи Россия, либо мусульмане изнутри.
And it's interesting, in his inaugural address, he talked about manifest destiny. Do you believe that if America isn't expanding, it's declining?
Not expanding and declining. What we've had here is managed decline by our elites. What you have to do is remove the globalist elites. We were under managed decline in every area, in education, in healthcare, trade, national security, our culture, borders, all of it. We lost our, you know, what they say is so important in this Ukraine situation, our sovereignty, our territorial integrity, and our self-determination of our citizens. That was the southern border of the United States. We've had 12 to 15 million invaders just on Biden's watch. I'm not talking beforehand. Beforehand, the number could get to 30 million. I don't even count those people anymore. What I count is what happened on Biden's watch. And it's extraordinary. Trump's reversed that.
То, что Стив сказал, что это с начала века в США зашло 30 миллионов нелегалов, это поразительная цифра. Но, наверное, у него есть данные, которых у нас с вами нет, дамы и господа.
Right? They're either should be in lockup. For your audience, and our major metropolitan areas are all sanctuary cities. Because the Democrats essentially control 20 of the largest metropolitan areas in the country, and then university towns in Aspen and Martha's Vineyard. That's where the Democrats really control. These cities have become sanctuary cities. One of the reasons that people are starting to vote for Trump, because they see the crime, they see the destruction of healthcare and education. Right? Your audience should understand of everything we've done, and Homa's doing a great job. They're all administrative warrants. You really can't go in and kick down a door and take 4 or 5 guys out. You got to nice in the door. If they don't want to answer, or they say, hey, I'm busy today, you have to go away. It's clearly not enough. And it's clearly not enough. The cost is very expensive. It's not, but Homan has a plan to do much more. I think Justice, once we get our people in the Senate, and this is why the Democrats are slowing down the confirmation process. This is not going to be easy, just like it's not going to be easy in the United Kingdom. If you're going to get 10 to 12 million, and I'm adamant, everybody's got to go. They all have to go back to their countries. We cannot allow a situation where people are allowed to come in here illegally and basically invited in by the government. And that's why, because this was not chaos. This was very well organized by Biden and the globalists. In fact, USAID, the charities and NGOs were a big part of this. Okay, all those people come under the heading of the UN's Global Compact on Migration are all part of this. And it's one of the reasons you see in Europe. I won't expose it, all the lies. I'm a Catholic. I'm a Roman Catholic. Catholic charities should be under investigation immediately. They took money from the government. They took money from USAID, plus the second collections in Catholic churches, and used it to invade our country to actually, and now they're out making videos telling illegal alien invaders how to avoid being rounded up, how to avoid going back. So the Lutheran Church, the Catholic Church, there's a Jewish organization out there, all of these NGOs, they're all guilty of the same thing of being being part of a conspiracy to and accomplish in invading our country. We have to investigate all of this.
Огромная сеть церквей, университетов, городских управлений, отделов полиции в городах, где управляют демократы.
And I tell you, a guy that outworks me is Donald Trump. And people say, well, he plays golf. I said, hey, When he's on the golf course, he's making deals. He's got guys. He's on the phone. He's drilling guys. He's playing with people for a reason. This guy is in beast mode all the time. I've never seen anything like it. To read the Guardian and the Telegraph and the Times and all the foreign papers early. When I get up, I tell people every day's Christmas Day. And I got a dozen boxes to open up, and there's going to be great things in each box. When you've been in the wilderness like we've been in the wilderness, and remember, they took all our we lost all of our bank lines, all of our credit cards. They deplatformed. I'm still banned in perpetuity on all the big platforms. You can't get me on Facebook, or you can barely, Google. They got all the bad stuff up front. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We're banned on all of them. And but it's great. We were so, and President Trump, he was debanked, credit cards cut off, Melania, all of it, because they thought we were out of power, and they're all going to put us in prison so we don't have to deal with these people. It's the greatest. President Trump led the greatest comeback, not just in American history. He led the greatest comeback in all political history, if you read history. And the people around him that have been not just loyal to him personally, but loyal to this cause, understand that the American people responded to it. People throughout the world have responded to it. And you're just seeing the beginning of it. We're at the top, in baseball terms, we're at the top of the first inning. We got a long game ahead of us, and it's going to be a fight. Tough fight. I tell people this. At the inauguration, I said, don't come here just to party and think that this is it. This is the what Churchill said about, I think, El Amin. Up until the inauguration, or November 5th, that was kind of the end of the beginning, right? And now we've got the whole rest of the story. And President Trump's here on the hero's journey. So we're here to support him and be part of that, like Nelson's band of brothers.
So this is the beginning of the end. Thank you so much, Steve Bannon, for joining us.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much for watching this video.
Ну хорошо, пора пришла подводить черту того, что мы с вами узнали. Первое. Америка говорит партнерам по НАТО: мы готовы с вами сотрудничать. Мы не готовы быть няньками в детском саду. Мы берем на себя океаны и атмосферу. Мы строим защиту от неминуемой войны. Понятно, что она будет. А здесь, в Америке, вы строите свою армию и защищаете Евразию. Второе. Гренландия, Канада, США, возможно, еще какие-то страны типа Аргентина, Панама входят в военно-торговый союз. Мы развиваем наш совместный рынок, нашу технологию и промышленность. Третье. Америка с корнями выворачивает глобализм, пришедший из Давоса, который чуть было не разъел нашу страну. Мы используем для этого законные методы расследования, суды, тюрьмы. Мы останавливаем безумные растраты, уничтожив обман и разгильдяйство, и уменьшим количество бюрократов, зданий, сооружений, которые работают в нашем правительстве. Мы балансируем наш бюджет, тратим меньше, чем собираем, и отдаем государственный долг. Пятое. Мы переводим госаппарат с финансирования за счет отнятия части заработанных денег у физических и юридических лиц на взимание ввозной пошлины с товаров, которые иностранные фирмы хотят продавать в США. Плюс еще несколько статей дохода от сдачи в аренду госимущества и т.д. и т.п. Может, какой-то специальный налог там на какие-то очень специальные вещи, как это было 120 лет тому назад. 6. Изменить условия импорта и налогообложения. Мы становимся инвестиционным раем, в который будет мечтать попасть весь мир. Мы меняем нашу иммиграционную политику, открываем двери специалистам, людям с талантами, образованием и способностями быть менеджерами, антрепренерами, способными организовывать бизнес и его вести. Это тоже талант. И что Баннон, с моей точки зрения, не сказал, это после выселения миллиона нелегалов, то есть преступников, Мы объявляем выдачу разрешений на работу на год или два тем, кто выйдет, легализуется, зарегистрируется, и кара тем, кто будет принимать на работу незарегистрированных. Я думаю, это суммирует услышанное. Я полностью за. Прекрасная программа. Мы строим свою жизнь, не обязаны никому, и любую помощь или поддержку оказываем тогда и только тогда и тому, кому хотим. Все просто и гениально. Дай нам Бог, чтобы получилось.